听到吗？可以啊。不好意思，我会用英语，因为我的华语不流利的。在我的家，我爸爸送大的孩子去华校。我是第二的女儿，所以他送我去马来西亚，所以我的马来文和英语比较流利，华文就不流利。OK. Good morning to everyone, especially respected Venerable Hsing, Venerable UTAR, and of course all the other Venerables in the audience, Associate Professor Wong, fellow speaker, and also Mr. Leong, fellow speaker, and of course to my dear friend, Moderator, who's also the head of the Humanistic Buddhist Center in UM, and to everyone. Today my presentation, because it's in memory of Master Hsing Yun, I will focus on his contributions, and of course, other than that, also I will intersperse it with the research that I've done, on the Buddhist monastic, female monastic in Fuguangshan, and also a bit from the research that I've done on the use of mobile app. How does the use of Fuguangshan or BLIA look at, or what would they like to see in terms of having a mobile app to propagate Buddhism? What kind of features, and also what have their experiences been in using social media in that sense when they attend online Buddhism classes via social media, via YouTube, things like that. So, okay, without much ado, let me proceed. It doesn't appear, sorry. Excuse me. I think I just used the normal one because the word doesn't appear. I don't want it to be one by one. I just want it to appear like that. Yeah. It's okay if you can see all. I think it's okay like this. Yeah, I just press like this. I think it's like this. Okay, and of course, I think his early life, all of you know already. He's from China, the year he's born, and how in 1949 he actually relocated to Taiwan. And of course, it's very remarkable that from a family that's near in poverty, the way how he has grown as a person, and also the way how he has actually kind of his foresight, his vision, how Fuguangshan is developed, to the state that it is today. I think so much so that if you look at the books that he authored, it's over 395 titles on Buddhism, and other than that, he has established educational institutions, libraries, and art. One of which is the Humanistic Buddhist Research Center at the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, Malaysia. I'd like to give an open invitation to all. The libraries are set up not because it's a architecture in memory or something. It's actually for us to use it. So I'd like to invite all of you, when you have time, please do come and visit us. You know how to reach us, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's an open invitation. And I think also in terms of its founding in Fuguangshan, all of you are very familiar in 1967 in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. And what made it possible is actually the post-war period in Taiwan, where there's a need for cultural and spiritual rejuvenation. And of course, it's able to develop the way it does because of support from local communities and devotees. And what I wanted to shine a light is on Fuguangshan in Malaysia. Yeah. Master Hsing Yun first visited Malaysia in 1967. This is when I was doing the research on female monastics in Malaysia. I also looked at the history of his coming to Malaysia as well. So he was part of the delegation of monastic leaders. What made him well known in Malaysia is also his publication on the biography of Sakyamuni Buddha, which was published in the 1950s. And that endeared him to the Chinese Buddhist community in Malaysia. And of course, with travel and whatnot in this global world, there are also Malaysian Chinese youth who travel to Taiwan. and they became his disciple. And when they returned to Malaysia, they also contributed to his growth in Malaysia. And I, as a speaker before me, also have kind of highlighted as well that why Fu Guangzhang gained popularity is also because of its cultural exchanges, its educational programs, and its charity work. And I must say, when I was in US, that was before I knew Fu Guangzhang. I did my doctoral degree in US from 2002, for a few years, 6 years. I was there for 6 years. And it was there that I actually visited Lai Temple. At the time, I didn't know, about Master Hsing and whatnot. But because I'm a Buddhist and I just wanted to be in a temple and near it, and I wanted to have a temple. You know how you feel when you go to a temple, right? The sanctuary, I just feel very comforted, and I know I must search for a temple. So because Fu Guangzhang is actually very near, I was at Claremont Graduate University. So I went to Fu Guangzhang and I joined its activities and whatnot. So yeah. So it's focused on educational program and whatnot, the global, that scene. And also when I was there actually, because I wanted to have the opportunity to be there more. So for one of the courses that I took, because in US when you do a doctoral program, you have to do lots of courses first before you can do your doctoral degree, and you also have to take an exam, pass the exam, before you do the research. So for one of the research on methodology, I actually because I wanted to spend time there, I went to interview the nuns there, to kind of understand why they choose to be nun, and also to understand also the philosophy of gender equality in Humanistic Buddhism. Because back then, my specialization was on women's studies in religion, focusing on Buddhism. And at the time, for my doctoral work, I focused more on the Theravada tradition. And it was also then that I realized how Fu Guangzhang is also very instrumental, right, for the lineage and whatnot. Our Master Hsing also played an important role to enable the revival of the female monastic in the Theravada tradition. So yeah, just a bit of background on that. And in any case, in terms of Fu Guangzhang temples and branches Malaysia, the first temple in Malaysia is in Klang, known as Nam Pang Se, in 1989. And in 1990s, we see the expansion of Fu Guangzhang Educational and Cultural Center in PJ and HQ in Tongzhen. And from 23 branches in 2010, now there's actually 82 across the country. Thanks so much for Leighton, who's been very helpful to share the data. And of course, Buddha's Light International Association has multiple branches across major cities, and its members, estimated to be thousands, participating in various activities. Yeah, this is more or less. And here I wanted to show this photo because it actually relates to the next slide, and also it also relates to my research as well. One of the main things here you see Master Hsing Yuan communicating with Pope, right? So it's very clear that it's actually interfaith dialogue, right? Yeah. And of course, also in UN, we are very lucky also. Last academic session, we have Venerable Ching, who actually had an intercultural dialogue with Dr. Awani Ghazali for the course on intercultural dialogue. And there you look at the visibility or invisibility of women in intercultural dialogue. Because in many of the research that has been done, they see that when it comes to public events, female monastic or usually women are actually invisible. So they are more visible when it's at the less public arena, working with community, so on and so forth. Yeah. But what I wanted to shine a light here is actually how significant the philosophy of gender equality, that is actually part of Humanistic Buddhism, which is also the vision of Master Hsing Yuan, right? And let me share some of the why it's seen as the philosophy of gender equality is seen very clearly because the path of Buddhahood is open to all regardless of gender, and we also see that in terms of the training to be a monastic. Female and male monastic more or less follow the same path. And both also are trained not just for spiritual and ritual leadership, but also life skills. And this is what I find amazing when I was doing the work on female monastic. Because also when they talk about, here now in the modern society, we talk about, what do you talk about when you go to university? getting A's, right? Getting good grades, right? And later on, to make your family proud means to get all A's. But when I interviewed them, then I found out, hey, it's different. It's not just about getting good grades. It's actually how do you have life skill? How are you as a person, right? The development of a person as a whole, not just your academic achievement, not just in the material sense, but how do you treat others? How do you treat your parents, Do you take your parents for granted? Everything that's done for you, right? When you actually go to Fuguang Shan training camp, you have actually to do everything for yourself. You have to wash your own clothes, so on and so forth. So in a sense, it actually emphasizes, the importance of how we are as a person, whether we live in harmony with the other. Let's say when you have a disagreement, what would you do? I'm sure most of the time you will actually be very angry and you'll say, okay, let me see if there's a chance I'll give it back to this person, right? An eye for an eye. Yeah, but in Fuguang Shan it's different, It's about how we also need to reflect, how we also learn how to manage our anger as well and see. And I personally find that, and also, based on also the interview and whatnot, when you meditate, right? When you meditate, your mind actually becomes calm. And sometimes when our mind becomes calm, we actually kind of also realize why the other person is angry at us, why the disagreement happened. And I remember this years back, I have a brother. My family has two daughters and 3 brothers. And the first is actually my sister, and I'm the second. So the sons are actually 3, 4, 5 is the sons. So I have this one, how sibling rivalry, right? Yeah, you have it in your family. I'm sure you all can also attest to that, And I was wondering why this brother always irks me and makes me angry, and we always kind of get into an argument. But it was like after I went for a meditation retreat once, and then I found out after I went home that he was angry at me when he tried to pick a fight. I kind of realized why he's doing that. So it's like, imagine when your mind is calm, and because of that, I didn't actually got into a fight with him that time. I kind of understood why it was so, and then I kind of approached it differently. So in a sense, all this cultivation, all this life skills is actually very important. The focus shouldn't be just so much on grade. Why are we having so much problem in our society today? Right? Issue of corruption, integrity, and all those. Because our education from, I would say from kindergarten until university, until postgraduate level, the highest doctoral level, my mind, my brain analysis is very good. And because of that, sometimes it's very easy to, I always say, having a doctoral degree has a occupational hazard. We like to argue, right? Because you have to show that my point of view is correct, and I'm trained to do that. And sometimes when I'm like that with people, I slowly, it's not something that I realized, it's something I realized, at first I didn't realize it, but over the years, I realized people would say, this Suat Yan, this Dr. Lai, very argumentative. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, my point of view is correct, and I've been trained to do that. Because if I'm not good at argumentation, that means I'm not worthy of the doctorate title, right? Yeah. But as a person, sometimes that's not the best way, because sometimes it's not a matter of who's right or wrong. Sometimes it's people who is more senior, I learn over the time, just say, sorry, okay, I see what you're saying, even though I know I'm right, yeah? And then because of that, you don't get into an argument. So it's not just about good grades, but also how you are as a person, and how you also need to have integrity and whatnot, so that we don't have the corruption that we're seeing today. So that was the richness when I interviewed them, and that was what struck me. And then I could also relate it into my training and how I am living as a person, occupational hazard with the time. Yeah. And what also amazes me that I'd like to share from the study that I did was also the practice of gender equality, which was actually shared by Venerable Ching. She was saying, she actually kind of highlighted how the notion of gender equality could be seen in the training for leadership, for example, for monastic. And this is what and because of that, she actually has the opportunity to work overseas in Latin America at that time. Yeah, because Master Hsing once said, who would like to go? And when she offered herself, he didn't say, oh, you're a female, so because of that, I don't think female can do it, right? Because I'm sure you all know in our society, even within my family, the notion of prioritizing male over female is very strong. I mean, I could see it in my parents, I could see it in my grandmother times, my parents' time. Although I would say my parents is especially proud of me because I'm the first in the family to go for a doctoral degree. Yeah. So yeah. But in any case, still, you could see the what in Cantonese they say, 冲男, the emphasis is more on the male sons. But in Huangshan, we see how that does not that's not practiced in a sense in the example of leadership. According to Venerable they only see your capability and willingness. And because of that, she was sent to Sao Paulo at the time when Huangshan Temple was not non-existent. And she also shared, I wanted to share a bit just to kind of shine a light on the resilience that she has. She said that it was, even though I think if you go to Sao Paulo, if you don't know the language, do you think it'd be easier going to a new country? It's going to be hard, right? So I was amazed when I interviewed her. She said, it was not difficult, and all she just has is to be hardworking and learn a new language, Portuguese. Yeah. So from there I could see how visionary Master Hsing Yuan is. He actually could see that female has as much potential as male, and because of that, and I think due to that, we are seeing also Huangshan today. Because sometimes after the master passed away, the issue of succession is a big thing, right? It's like, and slowly you see the temple waning because there's no succession. But here in Huangshan, we could see that the succession is actually very much arranged very well. Everyone knows, and even the leadership. The Huangshan youth that I interviewed, I wanted to share a bit from what they were saying. That is the young adult division. They were telling me that also female and male volunteers, have the potential, are also being trained to be leaders, and also they shared very much in detail how the leadership, is actually slowly groom from one stage to the other. Let me share the sister Go Huiding. I'm very thankful to her because she shared very rich, information with me regarding their training, and also not just Sister Wong Huiding, but also Mr. Brother Teo Kai Hen. He also shared. He also echoed the same thoughts. He was saying, in his experience, also there's also gender equality, whereby leadership is not associated as the domain of male gender alone. So that's very heartwarming to me, especially I'm coming from gender studies, right? That's actually the kind of study that I focus on, yeah? So, yeah. Okay, and yeah. So you could see it very clearly in the succession plan, you could see it very clearly in the leadership training, the gender equality, yeah? So, and the life skills I've mentioned, which is also part of, okay.
Sorry, can I invite you just for 5 minutes?
I still have 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. I know where to jump, on that. Thank you. 5 more minutes, okay. And also this so happened. This is actually also we talk about in terms of how the legacy is seen in terms of the clear succession plan, so that even after his passing away, Huangshan is still we are having this today, right? Yeah. So it says something. And also other than that, the educational institution, which also which funded us to do the research. I'm very thankful to that. Yeah. We also see lots of the work is also in terms of compassion in action. We don't say compassion, because it also teach about the 3 acts, 3 acts of goodness, right? Yeah. 3好, sorry. 3好, trying to remember. Yeah, 3 acts of goodness, 3好. Yeah. So what is important is not just the philosophy, because philosophy can just remain out there, right? It remain in the library, in the books. What we want to see is how it's being lived, yeah? And we see that, number one, I'm sure all of you here, during COVID-19, the work that Huangshan does, right? Giving food, supplies, masks and whatnot, that's compassion in action. And recently in Brazil, Buddha's light relief supplies arrived in Brazil's flood devastated cities. Yeah, that's compassion in action. Okay, this is, I think this one we more or less covered already. Yeah, the legacy, some of the legacy, the structure, it has a very well-defined hierarchical structure with clear roles and responsibility. And in terms of branches, each branch operates autonomously but adheres to core principle and guidance for leadership, succession and leadership, that's very clear. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, otherwise, Fu Guangshan wouldn't be able to survive well. Okay. This is some of his contribution, the various books that he has authored, his teachings that I've mentioned, but how important it is not just to remain in books, or part of philosophy, but how it has to be part of our life. And education, of course, is part of Chinese community. We know, right, why we are able to thrive in Malaysia. Education is very important. We know that. And it's the same, and this is also seen again, and this is why I feel when I was researching on Fu Guangshan, I kind of feel closer and closer, because the emphasis on education again. Education is the foundation of the nation's prosperity and the root of its people's happiness. Yeah, and here Fu Guangshan add an extra element, life skills, not just good grades. Okay, all these are some of the quotes in terms of leadership. A leader should be like water, benefit all things without competing with them. And it's also about serving others selflessly and inspiring them to find their own path. This one, I'm also very touched when I was at the Lantern Festival, I saw Venerable UTAR making burger. She's always been so kind. When I'm there, she always makes sure I'm well fed. I just want to say thank you, So it actually reflects on how Master Hsing the kind of training that they have given, is actually all reflected there. I feel so welcome and I feel so at home and I feel so happy every time I go there. And other than that, on training, mentoring, and of course on strong community focus. The music and cultural influence that we have spoken about, I think that the previous speaker also spoke about. The meditation practice that I also kind of more or less have, why it's important for us to have meditation, because it's the practice of looking deeply into oneself and understand the nature of existence. Right? When we meditate, we're actually more connected with ourselves. Because when we go about our life every day, everything is so busy, right? We don't have time to really think and center on the self. But when we meditate, everything becomes clear. It's not just connected to ourselves, it's also connected to what's happening around us. Just like the example I gave, when I was with my brother, when an argument was about to start, I could understand why he did that. Before that, never, he scolded me, I just scold him back, just give him back what I think he deserved. Yeah? So yeah, the significance of meditation, charity work, educational outreach. And I wanted to highlight that because one of the things that I wanted to talk about the legacy is also how very important it is to be sustainable. I'm sure you all know the United Nations, right? All the various sustainable development goals. It's the same when you look at when you look at it from the religion dimension, the legacy of a religious master. Yeah, it has to be sustainable because if not, soon after the passing away, if it's not well conceived, is not well developed, if there's no if there's no good succession plan and whatnot, slowly it'll die away. And I'm sure you all have seen how that happened to lots of temples in Malaysia, right? Why slowly after the founder passed away, then after a while it's like in the state of disrepair. I'm sure you all can kind of relate to that. Yeah, so the sustainability is very important, and I'm glad it's sustaining itself in many ways, other than the leadership and whatnot. It's also in terms of the educational institution that is having worldwide. Yeah, at secondary school, as programmer, I learned that from the interview you can actually gain extracurricular marks from that. So that's at that level. So it's like from small, and of course at the university level as well. You have Nantian, you have Silai Temple, so on and so forth. And the sustainability is seen. I must mention people that I've interviewed, and I'm so thankful to him. When I was at Jenjarong Tongchen, he's been very helpful. Mr. Ang, Mr. Ang is here. I just want to also give you a hand. And it goes to show the significance of how Master Hsing Yuen has kind of thought how to develop the youth. He joined Fu Guangshan 30 years ago, and he's still here now. Don't you think it's amazing? And it's just not him. Some of the youth that I interviewed also, they told me, it's more than 10 years because they joined when they were a student. And now I'm interviewed when they were like, below 15 years old. But now I'm interviewing them when they're over 20. Right? Yeah? 15 or even below. But I think Fu Guangshan only allows them to join officially at 15. Yeah? So yeah. So I think that actually goes to show, a temple without human wouldn't be there for long, right? So the human development is not just about building temples, it's also developing the human. So I think in that sense, that's where its legacy is actually very could be seen. The focus on human development as well. And as mentioned by Master Hsing, a master is one who transmits the way, imparts knowledge, and resolves doubts. Oh, okay, no, sorry. This is the one that I actually wanted to kind of conclude with this and what the followers say. The legacy of a great teacher lives on in the hearts and action of their followers, right? Would you all agree? The legacy must be in our heart, right? If it's not in our heart, then that means we don't feel it. It has to touch our heart. That's the most powerful way, and actions of the followers. And this is from his devotees' testimonials during the interview that I get, and that I wanted to share here. Master Hsing Yuan's teaching have not only deepened my understanding of Buddhism, but have also transformed my life in countless positive ways. Right? Yeah. So it transformed. When people are down, when people are sad, they don't know what to do. They feel like they've hit a roadblock. They find that Humanistic Buddhism has been of help. And this is from another devotee. Through his guidance, I found a path to inner peace and a way to contribute meaningfully to my community. I think with that, I'd like to end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much for our wide range from patients and also to generous devotees. Okay, without much ado, we want to invite the third speaker,